Probably looking at a possible start in about 3 minutes' time. Wally Dallenbach, our chief steward, is out on the course just taking a final course check. Everything is go right now until I hear anything further.
So fog no longer a problem, just fueling a few cars?
I think that fog is still a problem, but it's not giving us a sunny, clear start, but we're working the best at it, and we could start the race.
Thank you, Billy.
Okay.
All right, we're talking a race that is fuel managed, Eric Daly. So they're topping off fuel. Why?
Well, the reason is they need every gallon of fuel that they can fit into those tanks on the grid at the start of the race. They have been on the grid warming the engines up. The fuel that they use in that warm-up process, they replenish by having the Valvoline truck go all the way down to every single car. There will be 40 full gallons in every car at the start of the race. But look at this fog here. Now, this is a good picture here because you ask, how can a racing driver race in the fog like this? Well, the rule is if the flag marshal can see the next flag station, therefore he can alert the next flag station if anything goes wrong. So if you can continue to see the flag stations as you go along the racetrack, it is legal to go ahead and have the race.
And in that one of the PPG pace cars, as we take a look at one of these corner stations and the volunteer marshals, without these folks you can't run a race. But that was Wally Dallenbach, the chief steward of the series, who was out checking the course himself. The corner workers, they've been on station literally for hours hoping to get this race going at any opportunity.
The unsung heroes are these people that you see. They give up their weekends to come here because they love the sport. They are not paid people. Maybe they get to participate in a barbecue, maybe have a drink, maybe have a hamburger, but they are definitely the unsung heroes of IndyCar racing.
Topping off the fuel further back in the field, Jan Beekes.
Yes, you see they're shaking the car back and forth. This is Willie T. Ribbs' car. What they're doing is shaking it as hard as they can to try and get every last drop of fuel. You see a few air bubbles, then they take it away. This is filled with the methanol fuel. It will go now back over to the Valvoline truck where it'll get refilled. Now he says, come on guys, let's come down here. It has Adrian Fernandez is next. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars to go, Paul.
The fuel is methanol, not gasoline. It has a number of advantages. It burns with power. It also helps cool the engine.
Of course, one of the advantages of a rain or a delay like this is you get to see all this. This all happens usually before we come on the air, but you literally see now more than probably you've ever seen at the start of an IndyCar race in the past. That's the car of Didier Thays, backed by Kinko's for this weekend. Didier Thays in one of Dick Simon's cars trying to resurrect his IndyCar career.
Now back at Adrian Fernandez's car. And you've gotten a sense here, too, of what the crowd sees. All of these little ceremonies and these routines before the start of the race, very important to what is a record crowd here today. You can see that clearly. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, we're down here at the front row, of course. We're a couple of minutes away from the command to start engines. We're getting a good look at the sleek lines of the Penske chassis. You heard Roger Penske talking about the great designs that Nigel Bennett has come up with year in and year out for this team. Emerson Fittipaldi, who won the pole, as you mentioned earlier, in most dramatic fashion. It was literally as the checkered flag was falling on the final lap. He came in, got 1 gallon of fuel, made no changes to the car, went out, and he knocked his teammate Paul Tracy from the pole. It was exciting. And now he sits here waiting. Over on the other side, you've got Paul Tracy, of course, everybody tucked in. Billy Camphausen giving them their final instructions now as they complete that fueling process all the way there at the back of the pack. Emo has won 3 times this year. Tracy has got 4 wins. The teammates side by side getting those final instructions here in the front row, hoping that pretty soon here, in just the next couple of moments, they'll get a chance to start these engines up, bring them up to temperature, get the tires warm, and be on to the business of racing on this magnificent circuit here at Laguna Seca. Paul Tracy with the wave, Paul, and we're told now that they extended about another minute. We're about 2 minutes away now from gentleman's start.
2.5 minutes to go.
You mentioned the name of Nigel Bennett there. Nigel Bennett originally was the Lola designer before he moved over to Team Penske in 1987. Now, you might ask, what does this do to a driver when he has to sit there and cope with all these distractions? Well, Paul Tracy, we saw him earlier. He was very, very calm and relaxed. And really, a driver seems to have that ability to block out distractions that don't carry any baggage into the race car with you, because particularly when you put on your helmet, suddenly you get into that small little cocoon that is all your own, and you go about your business totally undistracted.
The team all for the moment, nothing to do to wait, maybe almost a little yawn there to try to stave off some of the apprehension before race. There is Nigel Bennett with Wolfgang Hustad, who is one of the, represents obviously Bosch Corporation, keeps track of the spark plugs. Nigel with that magnificent design of a car that has done so very well this year. Let's go to Jan.
Paul, Gary was talking a little bit about tires, and we are here in the Penske pit. Look at this designation. These marks right here means it's a Paul Tracy tire, so they can tell at a glance. This is the arrow to show what direction, and then to confirm that it's a right tire. This means set number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 sets ready for Paul Tracy.
All 4 are probably going to be used before this day is out. You were talking earlier, Derek, about the sand that gets up on the race course and how dangerous that in fact can be.
Well, we had some incidents in practice where Stefan Johansson believes the edge went off his engine because of the amount of sand he had to run through from other cars going off the racetrack. Remember, sand, you see Stefan has even more trouble here now. That fuel transducer obviously was not an easy fix, but when fine particles of sand get sucked into these engines, remember, it goes all the way through the turbocharger down into the valve system, and it takes the edge off the engine by literally wearing it out much faster than normal. That is one of the problems they will have to cope with here this afternoon. Sometimes you will see large grates, almost like a sieve that you would see in a baking kitchen, that they put over the turbocharger to try and stop a lot of this debris and this fine grit from actually getting down into the engines and doing damage.
Sand, then, far more than just a problem with the handling and making the course slick. It can be a serious problem to the engine and its components. Looking down the course, a lot of fog, and it seems to have thickened from our observation point in the past few minutes. It comes and then it goes away, and the wind tends to blow it away. Look how clear it is. Here's a second, third turn, and then in other areas it's far thicker. So the officials really have their hands full. Tony Bettenhausen, car owner of Stefan Johansson's car. He's with Jan Beekes.
Obviously deep in thought right now. He's waiting for his car to roll back towards him. It was towed to the front of the grid. Any more news? It is for sure that fuel transducer now?
No, we changed the transducer, and it appears now the fuel pump inside the fuel cells failed. So, we're trying to change it, but I don't think we'll be ready for the start.
What is a fuel transducer? Turned out not to be it, but what is that exactly?
Well, it's just basically part of the fuel system, controls fuel pressure and fuel flow to the engine, and we thought that's what had failed, but as it turns out, it appears to be the fuel pump, which is located inside the fuel cell, which is no 2-minute deal.
Well, if it's not a 2-minute deal, how long is it?
Well, we're going to get it changed as quick as we can, but we'll just have to see. If we don't go with the start in the next 5 or 10 minutes, we might make it.
Thanks, Tony.
Well, that may in fact be a possibility. The crew obviously has the car back. Look at all the tools there ready to go to work as they go to work on the system and keep Stefan Johansson in the car.
And Stefan has not had his fair share of good luck this year, because so many times he had this Amex car running up the front, particularly at Portland when he ran right behind the 2 factory Penskes. Remember at Indy when he out-qualified the Penske cars? But I don't believe Tony Bettenhausen's Amex car has really enjoyed what they deserve to get from this season with this 93 Penske chassis under Johansson.
All right, let's go down trackside again. Gary.
Well, we're inside a minute, we're told now. They keep bumping that time back. I just got a quick word here with Melinda and Kathy. Are you nervous about this command you are about to have to give?
I can't say I'm nervous. No, not really.
I think they are. We're going to find out here in just a matter of seconds here. Billy Camphausen checking with Mike Hadley, and about 20 seconds away, I think Rick Stewart here, who's handling the PA, is going to acknowledge that to the thousands of fans assembled around the hillsides, and we'll await the countdown here. We're about 9. Now it's really starting to get underway. We're coming down to the last 4 seconds. Can you believe it? Yeah, gals, do your work.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Well, they were so calm and full of energy, horseplay, not 20 minutes ago. Now they're strapped into the IndyCar cockpits. They're ready for round 16 of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the final race of the season. For some, is a battle of points. Paul Tracy is certainly in that situation, as is Bobby Rahal, for example, as is Raul Boisel. They are looking for much-needed points to try to move up in the point standings behind the new champion, Nigel Mansell and Emerson Fittipaldi. That could mean as much as a $200,000 difference over and above the purse awarded here today. For others, it's totally show-off time. There are plenty of sponsors, plenty of corporation presidents hanging around here looking for their driver, for their car for next year. These drivers know that. They know this is their last chance to try to do a little showing off and maybe get a ride for next year. So now they sit, engines running in their cars. The pole sitter, Emerson Fittipaldi, begins to roll away, as does the first row, and the field is finally rolling. The Indy cars are ready for the final race of the 1993 season. The PPG pace cars leading the field around and down through the corkscrew. The two Penske cars, Emerson Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy, at the front of the field, as everyone is now set and ready to go. So let's take a look at how they are ready to run in this race and how they line up. Let's take a look at the 29 cars in the starting grid. On the pole is Emerson Fittipaldi, his 15th career pole with a new track record. Alongside his teammate, Paul Tracy, the winner of 4 races this year, all on road courses. In row 2, it's Nigel Mansell, the new IndyCar champion, and Danny Sullivan, who won this event in '88, again in '90. In row 3 is Arie with his best start on a road course all year, and Mario Andretti, 4 times a runner-up in this event. In row 4, Stefan Johansson, who finished 3rd at Vancouver, and Mauricio Gugelmin, the first top 10 start for the Brazilian rookie. In row 5, Scott Goodyear, a runner-up at Nazareth 2 weeks ago, and Bobby Rahal, a 4-time winner of the Monterey Grand Prix. In the 6th row is fabi, who won the first running here back in 1983, and Al Unser Jr., who won at Vancouver a month ago. In row 7, Raul Boisel, who has 3 runner-up finishes this season, and Robby Gordon, who ran 2nd at Mid-Ohio. In the 8th row, Scott Brayton, with 5 top 10 efforts this year, and Jimmy Vasser, who finished 3rd in Phoenix in April. In the 9th row, Mark Smith, the freshman from Oregon, and Scott Pruitt. In the 10th row, Eddie Cheever and Brian Till. Row 11, Willie T. Ribbs and Didier Taves. In the 12th row, Scott Sharp and Mexican Adrian Fernandez. The 13th row, Robbie Buell and German Christian Danner. The 14th row, Hiro Mashushta and Olivier Griard. And alone in last position is Dominic Dobson. And of course, with the exception of Stefan Johansson, they're out behind the pace car, and there goes Stefan Johansson. Jan Beekes.
Yes, Paul, they changed the entire fuel pump. Unbelievable. Tony Bentonhausen clapping. Tony, that was unbelievable. You said, no way. You said that wasn't a couple-minute job, but that was about a 2-minute job.
Yeah, it really surprised me. The guys really got in there. It's been a long year.
Nice job, Tony. Let's go to Gary.
Jan, we've been talking a lot on the pregame show about plans for '94. I want to show you quickly a piece of technology you're going to see in IndyCars next year. A new dash readout. And look it down in this business here. All the different numbers, the warning lights. It'll tell you when to shift. It'll tell you what your maximum revs have been, fuel pressures, oil temperatures. You can get a wealth of information from this screen. Here's the little computer that absorbs it all. And this is an astounding piece of data acquisition equipment right here, and along with the sensing devices over on this side, 96 different functions can be monitored, and they can be monitored to the tune of 10,000 samples per second. Millions of bits of information, Paul.
So the field now moving around the course, and of course Stefan Johansson had a fuel problem that they got fixed very, very quickly. 84 laps, 185, nearly 186 miles, 300K, the race record at 103.6 miles an hour. Michael Andretti won here last year. Pole to the checkered flag. He is, of course, coming back to the IndyCars, but not here today. A very full field. This is always a favorite race for many of the up-and-coming road racers, again, because it's a time when they can show their talents. Who would have guessed that this is California? Skies are foggy, 55 degrees. Good air for engines breathing, but not really great for spectating there.
Not good for spectating, but also good for downforce on these racing cars. Moist air creates more downforce and often makes them even faster. Here's another look at the racetrack. 2.2 miles.